What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and excited because we have quite the game to talk about. A reminder before we get started that our Dallas Cowboys post-game show is presented to you by Righteous Felon Craft Jerky, the jerky that helps fuel your Dallas Cowboys. That's right, Righteous Felon Jerky and Biltong are available for Cowboys players at the Ford Center training facility. Each 2-ounce bag of jerky has 16 to 20 grams of protein. Biltong has 32 grams of protein, and each meat stick has 8 grams of protein. If it's good enough for the Cowboys, it's got to be good enough for you too. Righteous Felon uses locally sourced all-natural Black Angus beef and prides itself on superior quality, revolutionary branding, and unique flavors that go beyond the stereotypical jerky offering. And if you're interested, go to righteousfelon.com and use discount code BTB20 at checkout to get 20% off your order through the October 16th game for our Cowboys against the Philadelphia Eagles. After that, the discount will go down to 15%. Obviously, at that point in time, the code goes to BTB15. Thank you to Righteous Felon for sponsoring our post-game show. Holy crap, the Dallas Cowboys did it 23-16. Buckle up, people, because we have some things to discuss. Paul, thanks for chiming in, says great game. Ethan says let's go. Doxson says Coop is not a bus driver, people. Whoa, slow down. Brian, hey, well, let's relax. Let's all be cool here. Casey Cooper, thank you for the super chat, starting off strong. RIP to the games where Tank was irrelevant. Parsons will do that to offensive schemes. This defense is legit. Astro Joe Garcia points out Victory Polo Tuesday. That's right. It is technically Victory Polo Monday as far as branding is concerned. But nonetheless, wear a polo, wear a shirt, wear a scarf, paint your nails, paint your face. I don't care what you do, but just celebrate the fact that the Dallas Cowboys won tomorrow in your day. Shane says CD for the TD. Andrew K says living in Philadelphia is awful. These Eagles fans are terrible. Nick says, "What Yahoo, a win and a good one." Look, people, we have a lot to get to. Thank you, Shackle Benjamin. Hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. It says, "Can we get a how about them Cowboys?" All right, look. All right. The baby's asleep. All right, look, full peek behind the curtain. All right, this is my home office. I'm so blessed to be able to work from home. My wife, my son, my dog, they're all asleep. The son turned 10 months old on Saturday. I already forgot what day. So he's asleep. So I'm going to give this, it's, a loud but soft. It's the other end of the house. But how about them Cowboys? Son, I know you'll appreciate that someday in the future. Oh, my goodness. What can we do? What do we do? What happens here moving forward? The Dallas Cowboys, once again, your Dallas Cowboys, my Dallas Cowboys, our collective Dallas Cowboys are 2-1. And look, I'm not going to lie to you, people. All right, you were here on the post-game show. We do this every single week, following every single Dallas Cowboys game live on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. You can obviously watch the show live, participate along in the feed, in the chat. I am but your puppet. You are controlling me with your comment strings. You can catch the rewatch. You can listen on the Blog of the Boys podcast network. 2 weeks ago, after the Cowboys lost to the Buccaneers, it was grim. It was tough. It was tough cookies. It did not seem like this team could do much. And honestly, those thoughts, I think, percolated our minds and our brain space last week in the win against the Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, the Cowboys got that win, got that dub. Who cares? They got the win. Why are you guys all pissed off? We're pissed off because the Cowboys showed up against the Bengals. Their scripted drive was great. And then Tony Pollard went off for 46 yards, and that was kind of all she wrote on offense. And the same was true this week for the Dallas Cowboys against the New York Giants. Offensively, first half, gross. In fact, at halftime, I tweeted this out. At halftime, the Dallas Cowboys had played 10 quarters on this young season, and they had scored touchdowns in just one of them. That was 9 quarters without a touchdown for the Dallas Cowboys at halftime. But then Cooper Rush came out of the locker room at halftime, and he was ready to mess stuff up. Cooper Rush was ready to rock, and he was ready to roll. And CeeDee Lamb, he saw all of our tweets. And you know what? I think our tweets were fair. CeeDee Lamb played awful in the first half. We don't have to live in this this world where CeeDee Lamb woke up and had an amazing second half of this game and say, well, CeeDee Lamb was perfect in this game. No, CeeDee had a terrible first half of this game. And to his credit, like the superstar wide receiver one that we have always believed that he could be, he showed up, which is why he got the jersey behind me in our postgame show if you're watching on YouTube. Shout out to CeeDee Lamb. He saved what would have been a stock down performance for him. We're going to get to stock up and stock down, obviously. I mean, this was just I tweeted before the CD touchdown. I mean, before the Cowboys really kind of, actually before the Zeke touchdown, I tweeted, look, this is it. This is time. Cowboys offense, you want us to stop dragging you. You want us to stop making fun of you. You want us to believe in you. You want us to stop saying the season is over before the calendar even hits October. Go out, pull this off, put together a drive, find a way, get it done. all the cliches you want to use. And you know what they did? Cooper Rush, Kellen Moore, I was going to say Cooper Rush again. Let's go ahead and do it again. Zeke Elliott, every single player that we've had criticisms of, they did it. They buckled down. They got it done. They tied this game up against the undefeated New York Giants. I'm not trying to be the guy, the podcaster, blogger guy that comes for the national shows. What the hell are all the national shows doing picking the Giants to win? I mean, I'm very happy as a Cowboys fan, but let's not act like the Cowboys just like they slayed some mighty undefeated dragon. This Giants team stinks, but the Cowboys found a way to unstink themselves and get a super huge, massive, critical win that just breathes an enormous amount of life into their sails. The touchdown to CeeDee Lamb was a thing of beauty. It was gorgeous. Cooper Rush deserves all the credit in the world. I hate that there are people who are going to create this quarterback controversy between he and Dak Prescott. None of that matters to me. What matters is the Dallas Cowboys are 2-1. They are very, 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 very much in this thing. I know we all wrote them off, but this NFL season, let's be honest, let's just call it what it is, has been kind of weird through 3 weeks. So we've played 3 weeks, and I don't know that there's an elite team throughout the entire league. There are some kind of good teams. I would put the Eagles in that mix. I write power rankings every week at bloggingtheboys.com. I'll tell you right now, they go out on Tuesdays. The Eagles are going to be number 1 for me, but this is a temporary thing. The Eagles are kind of peaking right now if you want to be optimistic, right? The Cowboys are 2-1. They've basically played that entire time without Dak Prescott. They've definitely played that entire time without Michael Gallup. We'll see as Tyler Smith continues to grow and develop, as Jason Peters comes along. I mean, man alive, we have so much to get to. Let's get to your comments. Thank you for the super chats. Watsamata, I know I'm speaking fast, but it's late, people. I want to make sure you get to bed in a timely manner, so apologies to the podcast audience who listens on 1.5 speed. Watsamata says, next time we play the Giants, we will have Dak, Gallup, Peters full-time, and Micah won't have a cold. Hope they don't have their hopes up. Very, very, very well said. All these fraud Giants fans. Oh, we're 2-0. And look, I think the Giants are headed in the right direction. I mean, this was a let's be fair, people. We had to sweat this game out. When was the last time we sweated a game out against the Giants? For the longest time, shout out to Billy Joel and obviously New York City, although I know Aaron Judge didn't get 61 and all this stuff, whatever, more of a Mets guy. But still, for the longest time, I mean, it has been just kind of a cakewalk going up to New York or playing the Giants at AT&T Stadium. It was kind of fun. You know, I'm glad the Cowboys won, obviously, but it was kind of fun having this thing go down to the wire. Big Red TLC, thank you, says Peters at LG. Wow, immediate impact. I guess he just got his legs. Didn't see him after that. The Cowboys were very, 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 very upfront about this throughout their comments and the reported leaks and everything that happened throughout the day on Monday, that Peters was going to be on a pitch count. I maintain that I would love to see Jason Peters at left tackle. I'm not fond of living in this prisoner of the moment thing, but right now I'll happily take this L. I'll take it because the Cowboys have trusted what Tyler Smith has shown them through now the first 3 games of the season. Tyler Smith, let's go ahead and get the party started on our stock ups and stock down. Stock up, Tyler Smith. I mean, and again, the Cowboys kind of fell into this, right? I think we're all willing to be fair about that. The Cowboys just kind of, oh, man, Tyron Smith is hurt. Oh no, how could we not deal with this? What's going to happen? And they equated it to Dak Prescott, obviously, as the injury unfolded and as the weeks were getting ready for the regular season to start. And this has kind of been that. I mean, I don't say that lightly. This has kind of been a Dak Prescott to Tony Romo situation, something the Cowboys were not at all prepared for, something they technically had somebody ready for, something that was maybe going to be the heir at that position, obviously, in the future with Dak at quarterback and now Tyler at left tackle. And it has worked out wonderfully. I don't think that we can give them all of the credit in the world because they did not plan on Tyler Smith playing left tackle from the very beginning, but they have made lemonade. They deserve all the credit in the world. Tyler Smith deserves all the credit in the world. I know he had the 2 penalties. I don't care. Penalties are a huge issue, and we can talk about that if you want. But man alive, Tyler Smith has been amazing. Caleb Swanson, thank you for the comments. Says Tyler Smith being only 3 games into his career is so dang exciting. If he cleans up those penalties, we might just have hit on another offensive lineman. And I think, I mean, some of that stuff is a little bit old, right? And is a little bit unfair, both positively and negatively, right? Like, oh, the Cowboys are so great at drafting offensive linemen. And I think we assigned that reputation to Tyler Smith, and there were a lot of reasons to doubt him. A lot of people who know the NFL draft very deeply, who are knee-deep into prospects all year long, had some questions about Tyler Smith. But to his credit and to the Cowboys' credit, they answered them together collectively. We're only 3 weeks in, so we can't give him a bronze bust and gold jacket yet, to use another cliche. But Tyler Smith deserves all the flowers in the world. Devin Staten, thank you for the super chat. Says Cooper Rush is going to go 5-0 and be the next Jimmy Garoppolo. I tell you what, he's 2-0 on the season, right? 3-0 all time. There was an amazing stat that came out just before we went live here. 1 second. Here it is from NFL Research. Cooper Rush is the first undrafted quarterback to win each of his first 3 NFL starts and throw for 750 or more yards over those starts since Kurt Warner in 1999 with the Rams. Warner, of course, as we all know, there was a Hollywood movie literally made about this very recently, went on to win NFL MVP and Super Bowl MVP that season. Let me just say now, I do not think that Dak Prescott is the Trent Green to Cooper Rush's Kurt Warner, but it is very cool, and Cooper deserves all the credit in the world. I don't think we have to, kind of dance around it. Cooper gets an incredible stock up. Cooper has done the necessary things, and that has been something. And look, this is I will take an L here because this is another thing that worked out for the Cowboys, but they believed in Cooper Rush. They stuck with him. They knew. Isn't it amazing, by the way, that we debated Cooper Rush or Garrett Gilbert a year ago? I mean, the Cowboys have moved on from Cooper Rush. It was fair to doubt him, but they have found a way, and not all of it's Cooper. Kellen Moore has stepped up. I do not think that we're giving Mike McCarthy enough credit. We'll get to that in just a little bit, but Mike McCarthy actually just spoke, post-game tweet from Jane Slater, friend of the show, says Mike McCarthy says Cooper Rush is playing good football right now. He and Dak joked that he ran into the locker room after the win, and PR had to find him and remind him of his post-game interview. And I think that's what's awesome is that Cooper we aren't in this like Dak Romo situation where there is this like kind of tension and awkwardness of like, well, are you going to be the starting quarterback in the future? That doesn't exist here. Cooper is just a very stable back. This is new. Look, I'm 32 years old. I've never had a backup quarterback like this for my Dallas Cowboys, where you have somebody who you can rely on, somebody who can steady the ship, somebody who can drive the bus, somebody who can execute the offensive game plan. Cooper deserves all the credit in the world. Jesse T says, I always had faith in Cooper since his first preseason game. Caleb Swanson says, Rush is hands down one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. Only part that sucks is seeing the argument of him over Dak. I agree entirely with this point. It is unfortunate. Apparently, Scott Van Pelt, shout out to David Hellman, friend of the show, just tweeted this out. Scott Van Pelt, the great SVP on SportsCenter, just said, Dez caught it, so did CeeDee. What a game. What a game for CeeDee Lamb. We'll get to CeeDee, obviously. Hyman says good game management, talking about Cooper Rush, obviously. I mean, he deserves an enormous amount of credit. F-Kit Crutch says, still don't have faith in Dak. He's 50% in games he has played since his massive ankle injury. I get it if you don't believe right now that Dak Prescott is like among the super elite quarterbacks in the NFL. But what I will say is there's no question that Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than Cooper Rush. I don't want to have this argument. I don't want to go down this road. This is such a positive night. This is such a positive time. I don't want to waste it with this discussion. As Watson Mata says, great bus driver, not going to be a check down wuss. I agree. And that's really what makes Cooper so different from the backup quarterbacks the Cowboys have had in the past, is he's willing to be bold. And I will give the Cowboys credit. The great Bob Stern wrote about this last week in The Athletic. The Cowboys kind of, took the top off, right? The Cowboys let Cooper Rush play, and they haven't played like that in the past. And that's been a different regime, Jason Garrett's teams versus Mike McCarthy's teams. But I love that the Cowboys have not just laid down and died with Cooper Rush as their quarterback. They have said, you know what? We believe in this guy. We're going to let him take some shots. We're going to let him step up in the pocket, climb the pocket, make a huge throw on third down, move those chains. We're not just going to be the team that relies on Zeke and Tony Pollard and run the football. I love that. I mean, look, I don't want to bag on Jason Garrett, but 2 weeks ago when the Cowboys were getting ready for the Cincinnati Bengals, I mean, Jason Garrett was one of the people who said, yeah, Cowboys they got to play 90s football. They got to run the ball. They got to dominate. They got to take over the crowd. They got to, take control of momentum. Nah, to hell with that. You got to take what's yours. And that's what Cooper Rush did. That's what Kellen Moore did. That's what Mike McCarthy did. Vance Williams says, really, RJ, I'm 36. And I remember the clapper being a very good backup. Also, D-Law was a beast. Thank you for the super chat, Vance. In fact, let's go ahead and get to it. Kevin, I see your super chat. We'll get there in a moment. The top stock up, a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. I kind of dance around as we move through the conversation. My number one stock up, I really don't rank them, but I don't know how you can't. DeMarcus Lawrence. Holy crap. Where are they? I want to know, where are they? Where are the people? Where are you? Where are you people? Because I know you're out there. Where are the people who said he doesn't get enough sacks? DeMarcus Lawrence sucks. Why are we paying him? He's overpaid. DeMarcus Lawrence is terrible. Oh my gosh, Dorrance Armstrong's getting sacks. Dorrance Armstrong's better. No. Where are you at, people? I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you because the first half of this game was basically all DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence was incredible for the Dallas Cowboys in this game. Got a little bit banged up, fought his way through it. He deserves all the credit in the world for that. I mean, he finished with 3 sacks on the night. And we were sitting here kind of taking a victory lap because, look, we love Micah Parsons, right? We were kind of talking a week ago like, oh, yeah, DeMarcus Lawrence thought it would be a bit of a sack competition between him and Micah Parsons this season. It's 4-0 right now. Well, no, shame or fault to Micah Parsons, who did play through the cold. But it's kind of a competition now. Micah's got 4 sacks and DeMarcus Lawrence has 3. I mean, D-Law was amazing. Ethan says, I will admit, I have said this, RJ. I owe an apology. F-Kit Crutch says, defensive linemen aren't just about getting sacks. It's about getting pressures and getting in the backfield. It's also about controlling the run game. D-Law is one of the most prolific, efficient defenders against the run. We have said this for many different times. In fact, a very special shout out to friend of the show, John Owning. Everybody go follow John on Twitter at John Owning. He is president of the DeMarcus Lawrence is Awesome fan club. So shout out to John Owning. Shout out to DeMarcus Lawrence. Kevin C says all of D-Law's sacks were against Evan Neal. Who cares? Who cares? DeMarcus Lawrence had 3 sacks. Why are we going to hate on this? DeMarcus Lawrence deserves all the credit in the world. MyCast 2011 says D-Law's best game as a Cowboy. I don't know if I would agree with that, but it really, really, really was impressive. Shane says, I felt he was relegated to being a run stuffer. Glad to see the sacks. Paul says, opponents now need to double team D-Law, Armstrong, and Parsons. I expect 3 to 4 a week, a minimum now. Definitely whatever you can get as far as the line on sacks for the Cowboys defense. I would take the over, generally speaking. They hit it tonight. I mean, Dorrance Armstrong is somebody who is coming along, and that's somebody who the Cowboys believed in, somebody who the Cowboys kind of stuck their neck out for. I maintain that the way they went about this was really silly. They could have had things very, very differently, but to their credit, they made their bed, they have lied in it, and they are, making something special with it. So stock up DeMarcus Lawrence. Why the hell not? I mean, let's just party, people. I mean, this was kind of the, this was kind of the Cowboys. All right, football Twitter. All right, podcasters. All right, YouTubers. All right, bloggers. All right, writers. All right, people. You think you know a thing or two about football? You want to doubt Dorrance Armstrong? You want to doubt Cooper Rush? You want to doubt Noah Brown? You want to say all these decisions that we're making are stupid? All right, bet. We're going to go out here. We're going to beat the New York Giants. And again, let's be fair to the issue here. You beat, kind of a weak, New York Giants team. But a win's a win. It's a win in the division. Hell, it's a road division win. People, the Dallas Cowboys just went on the road and took an NFC East game to keep them right in contention. They are right in the middle of this thing. Watch out, Philadelphia Eagles, because not only is Dak Prescott lurking, but Cooper, I'm just kidding, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong, they are all lurking. I mean, man alive, this defense, I mean, Anthony Barr had a great game. I know he had the penalty early on, whatever, but like let's just kind of fly through this. Donovan Wilson, stock up. I mean, seriously, this defense is full of stars, of playmakers. J-Ron Curse isn't even out there. The Cowboys have won their last 2 games without Dak Prescott. But if you and I had sat here, and by you and I mean all of us, if we'd gotten around the campfire, we made some s'mores and stuff like that. If we had gotten around the campfire and we had said, all right, let's rank the defenders on the Dallas Cowboys 1 to 11, starting 11. Let's go ahead. As far as importance to the defense, we would have all had Micah Parsons number 1, obviously. And then I think number 2 for a lot of people would have been J-Ron Curse. And the Cowboys are 2-0 without him. And not only are they 2-0 without him, but the defense is balling out of their minds without him. And this doesn't mean, or this isn't to suggest that J-Ron Curse doesn't have a valuable place on this defense, that he shouldn't be a part of this team, that he shouldn't be given his flowers as well. It just speaks to the depth that the Cowboys have, the tremendous coaching that the Cowboys have. I tweeted this out somewhat tongue-in-cheek as the game was wrapping up. Look, people, we got to enjoy this. All right, we have to enjoy this because Dan Quinn is leaving. All right, Dan Quinn is not going to be around here for the long term. I know what you're saying, promote him to head coach. If Mike McCarthy is the head coach of this team, I mean, my point is Dan Quinn is going to be a head coach in 2023. My money right now says it's for the Los Angeles Chargers. Dan Quinn has been amazing. And look, there has been regression to the mean, right? We've talked about that a billion different times, that there was going to be regression to the mean for this Cowboys team as far as the turnovers, the takeaways were concerned. We have seen that. However, to their credit, to the credit of Dan Quinn, and yes, to the credit of Mike McCarthy for overseeing and managing the entire operation, to the credit of the list of phenomenal Dallas Cowboys defensive players, to all of their credit, they have found a way to still be successful in spite of the regression that was predictable and that has come for them. Shout out to Trayvon Diggs for the interception at the very end. That was awesome. Really great to kind of see Trayvon finally get in the interception column. Obviously, hope Sterling Shepard is okay. But, I mean, it was a cool moment for the Cowboys to kind of ice the game that way. And they have found a way. They have found a way to force 3 and outs, make the field longer, make the field longer. Dan Quinn is cooking with gas right now. Dan Quinn truly is cooking with gas, and he deserves obviously an enormous amount of credit. Lit Newports says 3-1 after we beat Washington next week. I know the Cowboys originally opened as 3-point favorites over the New York Giants, according to our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook on Sunday night, but obviously Dallas had not played yet. I looked just before the show started, and that is off the board right now. So we'll see how much that line moves. I hope you got it at Dallas -3 because I do think it's going to grow after Monday night. Not a sponsor, but this Diet A&W root beer is just really good. If you want something, with no calories, whatever. Loco Texas says, RJ, you said no negative energy, but here you are talking about Dan Quinn leaving. Look, I'm just, it's likely going to happen. It's probably going to happen. That's all. But let's enjoy it while we're here. That's all I'm saying. Alfred says Turpentine, big return. That was a big punt return by Kevontae Turpin. The Cowboys have been saying he's close to break one. He's close to break one. Still nothing for a touchdown, but hey, Kevontae Turpin deserves a lot of credit. I want to get through the stock up, stock down, the rest of our stock report. I do write about this at bloggingtheboys.com. Also make an Instagram graphic. You can follow me on Instagram at RJ Ochoa. But I want to get through it so we can just kind of go off of your questions, your comments, whatever. So we've gone through DeMarcus Lawrence. We've gone through Tyler Smith. We've gone through Donovan Wilson. We've gone, Tony Pollard stock up for obvious reasons. I mean, Tony Pollard, the Cowboys have two great running backs. And we've said this this has never been a one or not proposition when talking about the Cowboys running backs. It has been a you can have both proposition, and the Cowboys are finding ways to get that done. So shout out to Tony Pollard, of course. We talked about Cooper Rush. Let's just hear it, people. This is one of the bigger L's I will take. Noah Brown has been phenomenal. All right. Noah Brown has been incredible. Noah Brown has been a revelation. All right. Now, did the Cowboys hang on to Noah Brown longer than most teams would have held on to a 7th-round draft pick? Probably. Did he contribute offensively? No. Was he finding a way to help the team? Yes. Is it kind of surprising that he has wound up in a situation where now he has opportunities on the offensive of the ball? Absolutely. But credit to Noah Brown. He did it, and credit to the Cowboys. They believed, and I will take the L here. And look, the Cowboys deserve credit for landing this plane. It did not have to be this complicated, all right? They could have gone out, and they could have gotten help. They could have improved their chances. They didn't have to, they're playing Super Mario, and they purposely got rid of their first 2 lives. And they're like, watch, I can go through the whole level with 1 life. Respect, you did it, but it would have been a lot easier if you had the 3 lives in case one of those Goombas or whatever got to you. And so they did it. They still got to the level. That doesn't mean the process was sound. However, the Cowboys said, we don't need to go out and get somebody. We'll keep our cap space because we have Noah Brown. I don't know if you want to throw yourself in here, but I'll throw myself in here. I thought that was kind of dumb. I thought it was silly. I thought it was arrogant. I thought it was ignorant. And on some level, I still believe that. However, Noah Brown is proving them right, and the results favor the Cowboys. Tonight, the Cowboys can laugh at us. They can circle around us. They can take their victory lap. They can put their victory polo Monday on because the Dallas Cowboys have earned it with Noah Brown. Armand says that I'm taking a lot of L's with the Cowboys. Hey, Armand, as long as the Cowboys are taking dubs, I'm taking dubs. I have no problem being wrong on some of this stuff. That's the nature. Look, my job is the best thing in the world. We get to all sit here and talk about the Cowboys. I'm invariably going to be wrong on some things. I'm never going to pretend to be some expert. I miss on a lot of stuff. I'm wrong about a lot of things. And I do maintain that the Cowboys could have gone about this much differently and added much higher levels of insurance in the event of the circumstances that were predictable that they have found themselves in. But to their credit, they have found a way out. They have benefited by playing the Bengals when they were still down and obviously a weak Giants team. But that is what it is. Again, no negative energy. So let's move on. Making sure we're not missing anything from post-game press conferences, post-game discussion. Let's see here. Dak Prescott, Jane Slater just tweeted that Dak showed her his thumb. No swelling, healing, that he told her Cowboys-Rams week 5 is a game that he could possibly start. Jane's tweet says, get the sense he would go Sunday versus Washington if he could, but this will be a team Dak decision to be smart. Now, I don't have this on the stock up, but Cowboys are playing a little bit of poker here, right? They're gambling, right? That's kind of what this comes down to with injury, right? Should we force this guy to play? Should we try it? Should we risk re-injury? Is it that important? Jerry Jones said ahead of week 1 against the Buccaneers that if it were the Super Bowl, and that comment, that I know that there are Jerry comments we all roll our eyes at. That one I understood. Jerry was saying, look, if this was like the game to end the year with everything on the line, of course Michael Gallup would play, but it's not. And to the Cowboys' credit, they have slow played this thing with Michael Gallup, and they look smart. They look like the winners. They're 2-1, and they've given Michael Gallup all the more time and opportunity in the world to get right, to get healthy. And that is what these 2 wins have done. These 2 wins have bought them an enormous amount of leeway, an enormous amount of time. We sat here and we all thought that Dak would be out through the bye. It's worth mentioning that Ian Rappaport reported on Sunday that Dak would maybe return at earliest in week 6 against the Philadelphia Eagles. That would be awesome. That would be epic. That would be fun. But even if he doesn't, even if the Cowboys lose their next 3 games, whatever, they're still in the mix here. These 2 wins have really helped keep them alive. It really did not seem like they were going to be able to beat the Bengals, obviously. The Giants we kind of thought were lame, but the Cowboys are cheating life a little bit here. The Cowboys deserve a lot of credit. As Jason says, giving Dak that extra week to get whatever rest he has during the bye helps. If they can get to the bye, that would be great. I mean, the Cowboys between now and then, they have the home game against Washington. I don't think we're scared. I mean, look, Carson Wentz against this defense, good luck. And then the Cowboys have to travel to take on the Rams. Obviously a little bit more, of a legitimate opponent, but they have their flaws. Then they get the Eagles, and we all have to admit the Eagles look very good. Let's call that a loss. Let's just be fair. And then after that, the Cowboys get the Lions. We'll see if DeAndre Swift's playing in that game. That could be tough, but say they lose that game, right? Let's just be fair. Say they lose that game, and then say they beat the Bears. That's 3 more wins and 2 more losses. We're talking about a team that's, 5-3 at that point in time at the bye. I mean, if you told me that Dak Prescott could return to a 5-3 team on the road at Lambeau Field, holy crap, I would have signed up for that 10 different times. Let's see here. Kevin C., thank you for the super chat, says the 24th pick played better than the 5th overall pick. Also, you missed my other super, but no worries. I get it. We're all hyped. Kevin, apologies. I want to make sure we get to all the super chats. That's my bad, Kevin. I'll wear that. I'm wearing a lot of L's. My neck's getting heavy with all these L's. But yeah, I mean, Tyler Smith was awesome. Kayvon Thibodeau, let's be fair. I mean, we don't know what he's going to look like, obviously, throughout the course of his NFL career. But, not his best night. It was his first game. I mean, there's something, that, there's something to that. But anyway, let's move on. Caleb says if we can go 5-3 by the bye and get Dak back, it'll be massive for this team. I agree. I see a lot of you trolling in the comments saying Rush is a starter. Look, I mean, cool, respect. Thanks for the views and stuff, but we're not going to do this. We're all going to celebrate. I want to get back to finishing up our stock ups. So we've done DeMarcus Lawrence, Noah Brown, Tyler Smith, Donovan Wilson, Tony Pollard, Dorrance Armstrong, Cooper Rush. We have 3 more to get to. All right. Jason Peters. Holy crap. Hey, people, what a weird thing. What a weird thing that signing proven players in free agency can lead to helping your team. I mean, man, color me surprised. I just could not have ever imagined that doing this would lead to legitimate results. Who would have ever thought? Who would have thought? Who could have predicted this? I mean, Jason Peters obviously was awesome in the limited action that he saw. He gets a stock up just because we're all super excited about it. I've seen a lot of you say this. I'm going to go ahead and throw it up. MyCast 2011, Jake Ferguson stock up. I don't have him on my list, but I'm totally fine adding him when I write the article at blogonthewiz.com to come in and play this way. I mean, the way he did. I mean, Peyton Hendershot too. Peyton Hendershot had that 30-yard catch. I mean, they both supplemented the loss of Dalton Schultz rather well. And again, that speaks to the Cowboys scouting department, evaluation team, the coaching staff, the way they got these guys ready. They believed in these guys. They've talked so much about the youth on this team, how much they believe in it. We've rolled our eyes at a lot of it, and a lot of it has proven to be wrong, but they believed. Jake Ferguson had an incredible, I wouldn't say NFL debut, but obviously there was a lot more on his plate tonight than there had been at any other point. So good for Jake Ferguson. Shout out to him. Watson Amana says, roughly how many snaps did Peters play? I mean, obviously I don't know at this point in time. I would guess it's single digits. I mean, it was very, very, very limited. But we'll see. Obviously, we'll have a lot of information available for you at blogontheboys.com. Our final 2 stock ups, now that we included Jake Ferguson, we have to include him, CeeDee Lamb. And let's all admit, all right, this is a safe place, a safe and secure place. We can all admit that we were pissed, that we were upset, that CeeDee was not playing well. We can all admit that the drop was egregious. We can all admit that that drop simply cannot happen, that you cannot be a number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. You cannot be a part of this Club 88 documentary special thing that ESPN shows before the game and come out and drop a pass like that. You can't do it. You can't do it, CeeDee. All right. And CeeDee knows that, right? CeeDee, I know people were upset that he was smiling on camera. Miss me with that. I don't really care about that, but it was bad. It was a really, really, really bad game for CeeDee Lamb until it wasn't. I know people are going to look at the touchdown. The touchdown was amazing for CeeDee Lamb, but the 4th down conversion on that drive, the 4th down was a big dude catch. The 4th down conversion was a huge physical man-on-man, wanting it more, be the stronger, more aggressive, more physical, more dominating player on the field, and that was CeeDee Lamb. All right, he had the drop. I'm totally with you. I'm willing to say that he was on the stock down list, but then everything obviously changed. And man, I just cannot state how impressed I am with him with that turnaround. It's hard to turn that around mid-game, to not get stuck in the mud, stuck with how poorly you're playing, stuck with how everything's going, feeling like all is lost, feeling like you can't do anything right. But CeeDee Lamb did it. Shout out to CeeDee Lamb. He got it done. I mean, it was an impressive performance. Matthew says, Matthew Raffin. It might be Raffin. Sorry, Matthew. You need to stock up Terrence still. Terrence not on the list. It was a hard night to make the stock up list. There was a lot of good play happening all across the field, and obviously a lot of important things. So Jason R says that one-handed catch was amazing. I mean, he was incredible. He was truly incredible. So shout out to CeeDee Lamb. Garrett Wilson says stock up the entire O-line. I agree. Just a phenomenal night. Really a really good time. Good. The vibes are great with the Cowboys right now. Like this is cheating life. All right, to quote the great Dave Dameshek, this is truly cheating life. They were not going to be 2-1. What? They were never going to be 2-1. No way are they going to be 2-1. No way are they going to win a game. No way are they going to win a game, even when Dak Prescott comes back. It is impossible. It ain't impossible no more. No. These Cowboys, they have found a way. They got in the trenches. They got it done. So good for them. John 6005 says CeeDee stepped his game up. Offensive line played well. I agree. All right. And now Nash Jump says just wait until MG13 comes back. All right. There's over 1,000 of you here. So I don't know how many of you I am going to upset with this comment, but I will charge on nonetheless. My final stock up for the Dallas Cowboys big time Monday Night Football win on the road against the New York not good at football Giants, Mike McCarthy. All right. I get it. Mike is not the most likable coach. I get it. Mike is a bit of a meme. I get it. People think that Mike doesn't do anything. I get it that people think that the Cowboys have success in spite of Mike McCarthy. I get that people are willing to give the credit to every single person affiliated with the Dallas Cowboys except for Mike McCarthy. We have to give this dude some props. All right. Now, maybe you don't want to give him a lot of props, but if we're going to sit here, we're going to say, let's be fair. Let's give this guy stock up. Let's give that guy stock up. Let's be fair. Let's criticize this person. We have to give Mike some credit here. Now, I'm going to say myself, and this might sound hypocritical, I was not a fan of the way the Cowboys handled the end of the first half. 4th and 2 for the New York Giants, super short. They're going for it. Mike McCarthy calls the timeout to keep that possession alive for the Giants with less than a minute left. All right. And obviously the game just ended. I haven't had a chance to go back and look at every single detail just yet, but I'll be writing about this, obviously. I thought that was stupid. I really did. I maintain that I think that was dumb. That was not worth the risk. That there were so many things that had to go right for Mike McCarthy in that moment for the risk to be worth it. They had to stop the Giants on 4th down, which they did. All right. This isn't a results-oriented process. It's a process-oriented process. They had to stop the New York Giants. They had to get into field goal range themselves, which they did. And then they had to make the field goal, which they obviously didn't. Here's the thing. It's not worth it. It was 6-3. It was such a close game. You didn't need to risk that at that point in time. If the Giants convert that first down, they're kicking that field goal. They're tying that game. It's not worth that swing at that point in time. That being said, and I don't put that miss on Brett Maher, who's been perfect otherwise, by the way. And that's another L. I'm telling you, I'm collecting these L's. That being said about Mike McCarthy, I will take that coach 100 out of 100 times. I will live and die with the aggression, with the go for it mentality. I will take that 100 out of 100 times than the conservative approach that we have grown accustomed to as Dallas Cowboys fans. Because that's the thing. We're never, no matter what player you love, no matter what coach you love, no matter what offensive scheme you're a fan of, no matter what defensive scheme you pride yourself on loving and adoring, no matter what flavor ice cream you like, no matter what your favorite movie is, we are never going to feel 100% in agreement with anything all of the time throughout our lives. That is never going to happen. So you can be a fan of Mike McCarthy or you can disagree with Mike McCarthy, but you are never going to feel that way 100% of the time. So that being said, I applaud Mike McCarthy for the aggression. We saw it last week on the 4th and short early in the game against the Cincinnati Bengals. We saw it late in this game, that 4th down conversion that we talked about, CeeDee Lamb. That was Mike McCarthy keeping his foot on the gas. We saw Mike McCarthy have trust in his players. That is something that he is truly, and I know that people will roll their eyes at this, that is something that he is elite at. That is, he has his flaws. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you that he is an elite head coach, but that is an elite trait, an elite characteristic of his. Do you know how many games Jason Garrett won without Tony Romo or Dak Prescott? And I know that he won some games in 2010 when he was the interim coach. I'm not counting those because he was interim, right? As far as full-time head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, Jason Garrett, he won one whole game without Tony Romo or Dak Prescott. You take away his franchise quarterback, he was powerless. And I don't mean to throw Jason Garrett under the bus for the purpose of this analysis here, but Mike McCarthy has now won, shout out Monica Geller, 7 games without Dak Prescott. Mike is not the kind of coach who lays down and folds when things are not going his way. I love that Mike McCarthy is somebody who's willing to go for it, who doesn't let the variables affect what he's trying to do. He finds a way to win, or at least finds a way to give his team a shot. And I will take that 100 out of 100 times. So shout out to Mike McCarthy. Huge stock up for him. Proud of you, Mike. You can fix some of these other things that we have problems with, but good for you. Shout out Mike McCarthy. Big time win. This was one of the most complete games that we have seen the Dallas Cowboys play this season. I know there's only been 3, but this was a huge win. This was a defensive dominant effort. A lot of you are saying to give Brett Maher props, to give Brett Maher stock up. Fine, I don't have a problem. Brett Maher, stock up. I don't have him on the list here, but Brett Maher was amazing. Again, I don't fault Brett at all for the miss at the end of the first half. That was so wonky, that sequence. I don't agree with it, even in hindsight. However, Brett Maher has been a revelation. The Cowboys have believed, and the way they got to Brett Maher was flawed as well, kind of like the way they got to Tyler Smith, the left tackle. The Cowboys did not plan on Brett Maher being their kicker this year. They planned on Jonathan Garibay being their kicker, or Lareem Hairulahu. They stumbled, they tripped into Brett Maher, and good for them, and good for us, and good for him that Brett has been awesome so far this season. But Brett Maher's stock absolutely up. It just, it's kind of been whatever. Kevin C says, RJ, the refs sucked at times, but we still won. Definitely a very weird game as far as officiating is concerned. We'll leave it at that. But this was an amazing game, an amazing team-wide game for the Dallas Cowboys. It wasn't for the entire thing. The offense definitely not carrying their weight for a large portion of this contest, but they did step up. They did get it done. Shout out to them. Good job, Cowboys. All right. Now, I mentioned that we were going to talk about only positive things, but we do have to admit this is the only negative thing. Let's just talk about it. Penalties. Our little banner reads, penalties remain an issue for this team, although some in New York were questionable. And again, that speaks to the point about officiating. Several drives were killed for the Cowboys offense by penalties. Several drives for the Cowboys defensively were kept alive by penalties. Now, we can sit here, we can debate, we can talk about the illegal contact, Jordan Lewis's penalty, the holding, the false start, pick whatever you want, whatever penalty it is. It's still an issue. All right, it's still an issue. And maybe you say, you know what? I'm willing to live with this style of play. I'm willing to live with how the Cowboys play football, even if it leads to some penalties that frustrate me because they're aggressive. I will take that. That's the trade-off. I'm fine with that. I'm comfortable with that trade-off. Be aggressive. If it leads to some of this ticky-tack stuff, I mean, like and I know that we're offsetting, but the Sam Williams penalty, the hit out of bounds, I don't think that's a fair penalty against Sam Williams. All right, I don't think that's a fair penalty, but I get why it's called, right? Like we see that often in the NFL. They're gonna call that. Some of this stuff is like not necessarily knowing the rules, but knowing the officials, knowing the way that officials referee NFL games. And to Sam's, defense, he's a rookie. He doesn't know that, right? And you see Trayvon Diggs go up there, kind of coach him up, say, hey, chill out. Some of this stuff is just about experience. And so, the Cowboys don't seem prepared for those kinds of things. Let's get to your comments here. Ruben says coaching and discipline is what is needed to keep the penalties in check. I agree with that. I agree. Again, it's just, it's just kind of, it's tough. Brian, I agree with you that the late hit was BS. Jones wasn't even out of bounds yet. He wasn't out of bounds, but they're going to call that. If you're going after the quarterback as he's near out of bounds, they're going to call that. It's unfortunate. The game is catered to quarterbacks. We can sit here and debate the letter of the law all we want, but we've seen that called many different times in the NFL. Caleb says penalties are the biggest problems this team faces at this point. I agree. These penalties are going to cause us to lose games. I'm tired of being on one of the highest penalized teams in the league at this point. It's tough. Johnny Boyaren says the unsportsmanlike penalty on Wilson was dumb. This was the worst penalty, certainly. And that's, I mean, and shout out to the broadcast. They kind of were talking about this. I mean, what's Donovan going to, Donovan doesn't know. Donovan doesn't know the officials behind him, right? Like some of this stuff, you got to, like, you have to assume, and I don't mean to criticize officials in a mean way, but some of this you have to assume that the officials don't have common sense, right? Like that's just kind of the way you have to roll. That has to be an admitted assumption that you make, or else you're going to drive yourself mad. You have to assume that they don't know what they're doing, or else you are going to be the one who's upset. And if you assume that game or that way, if you play it that way, you're going to be less frustrated at the very least. So, that's my word of advice. Excuse me. Making sure there are no more post-game comments here from anybody associated with the Cowboys. Seriously, Malik Hooker just tweeted Cowboys, another dub, keep stacking them. Daryl Baker says tight end room. Come on, RJ, stock up. We gave some stock up to Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot. Again, I don't want to be negative, but so let's be clear here. And I know that there are some trolls, but Dak Prescott's job is not in jeopardy, right? We all know this, right? Like, this is fun. This is a cool ride. And shout out to Cooper Rush. We're having a good time here. We made it through September, right? The next game is in October. Yeah. Making sure we made it through September and we're all good. We get to enjoy this season. All right, cool. Go Cowboys. But we know that Dak Prescott's job is not in question. This is one game, and again, I don't want to be negative. This is one game, but I definitely feel like if you did not know, you certainly now know that Dalton Schultz probably isn't going to be on this team in 2023, right? Like, I think we definitely feel somewhat confident in that. Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot both look like people and players who are going to be contributors for this team for a long time. So good for them. Shout out to the Cowboys tight end room. I agree with Joe. Noah Brown tackling on the end zone. No call. I agree. Tyler says Ferguson's catch and rumble out of bounds with no timeouts is not a good play. I agree with that. Late in, this was late in the game, obviously, for anyone who maybe started celebrating early. Jake Ferguson went out of bounds. The Cowboys won this game technically by a touchdown, right? So technically a one-score game, 23-16. They covered. If you care about that, they were underdogs. But if you care about winning, and we've seen this play itself out, I'm somebody who believes if your team is winning and you intercept the ball or recover a fumble, go down, right? Like in the final seconds, go down, whatever. Don't chance it, right? Like take the shortest path to victory. Jake Ferguson did not do that, to Tyler's point. Jake Ferguson getting out of bounds, stopping the clock, giving the Giants life. You can sit here. We can sit here. I think we all agree that Daniel Jones was not going to author a game-tying or a game-winning drive. We know Brian Dable's not opposed to going for it in situations like that as the New York Giants head coach. But I agree that Jake Ferguson has to know better. And those are the kinds of things that, like, as a football fan, we all sit here and we say, how does that not get communicated in the huddle, right? Like, you would think if we were all in the huddle and it was third down and we're trying to milk the clock, that we would have some conversation. We would call the play and be like, okay, whoever gets the ball, whatever you do, don't go out of bounds. It's kind of like a simple thing. And I'm sure Jake Ferguson would take that back if he could. Hey, he's a rookie. You can kind of expect those things. Johnny Boy RN, excuse me, says the Cowboys finally have multiple tight ends that can block and catch the ball. No more situational tight ends. I agree. I really, 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 really like what we're seeing from the Cowboys tight end group. Watson Mata says, I poo-poo the Ferguson pick. Definitely an L for me. The Cowboys draft class looks kind of good. I mean, right now, they look like they've got some players. I mean, we're all obviously excited about them. Jalen Tolbert got in on things. This was the first game of Jalen Tolbert's NFL career. It feels like we're kind of forgetting that. Didn't have a huge, kind of day at the office. Offensively, let's see, had the two targets, one catch for 4 yards. The one catch was nice. The one ball that he didn't catch was just kind of outstretched and over his arms, if you want to look at that. But Scott, I've seen this comment a lot, so let's go ahead and get to it. And we'll give him some love because I've been trying to keep the show on track. But let's have some fun here. Scott says, please, RJ, be oddish. All right. Give us a word, commenters. Loyal, wonderful, beautiful, perfect in every conceivable way commenters. Give us a word to describe the way that Tyler Biadasz played in your mind, in your estimation, on Monday night against the New York football Giants. I'll get this comment back up here, but Brian, thank you for the super chats. Just close the chat for 10 seconds and hit the like button. If you guys can like the show, if you can subscribe to the channel, that helps us out a lot. I mean, just being straight up with you, that would be cool. That would make us happy. By the way, go support our friends at Righteous Felon Craft Jerky. Their jerky is awesome. Their jerky is literally available for Dallas Cowboys players at the Ford Center training facility. The Dallas Cowboys eat this jerky. It's amazing. It's incredible. It's low calories. It's wonderful. It's tasty. It's delicious. They have a billion different flavors. My favorite is the Nelson Mandela, I think is how it's pronounced. I don't know how they pronounce the flavor, but it is wonderful. So go to Righteous Felon and get your craft jerky 20% off with the code BTB20. But okay, let's get to your one-word answers for how Tyler Biadasz played. Some of them are mean, but let's try to be confident. Kenneth says improving. Tim says decent. Paul says confident. Scott says solid. Galvin says weak. Johnny Boy says average. Big Red says serviceable. I like that with the period. So just kind of straight serviceable. David also says average. Clay Baker says penaltyless. I like that. Travis, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, says growth. Adrian's cheating says he did his job, to be honest. Kenneth says healthy. Kevin says quiet. Brian says solid. James says available. And let's get to one more. Carl says adequate. Caleb also says solid, by the way. I agree with all of these. And I think that he deserves credit for that. Obviously, every year there's kind of the Cowboys we pick on, right? There's players who are just kind of subject to vitriol week in and week out, and there's kind of like a special club. Sometimes it's guys who are making big money. Sometimes it's players who were high draft picks that aren't panning out. And last year, Tyler Biadasz was kind of in that club, right? Like we were kind of picking on him, hating on him, thinking he wasn't doing his job. Depends on where you look. PFF has thought highly of him at times. I think Biadasz has played himself well, or played well, obviously. In fact, this is slanted like a negative question, but I'm going to ask it nonetheless, and we'll play the game here because I think that's an important question. Who is the worst starting Dallas Cowboys offensive lineman in your estimation? And for the purposes of this exercise, we'll count Jason Peters as the starting left guard. So your options are left to right: Tyler Smith, who's been amazing; Jason Peters, who played like 7 snaps, but Tyler Biadasz, Zach Martin, and Terrence Steele. And we'll look at it, not the worst, but who has the most room to grow, right? Again, we want to be positive. We want to be optimistic. We want to be kind, because to be frank, we all thought this offensive line was going to be a disaster, and they've been one of the strengths of this team through 3 games. It's a really small sample size, but they have been, they have been very, very serviceable. So I think it's important as we look at that, because this has kind of been a surprising thing, to identify what might be the weakest point on it. Now, most of you are saying Biadasz. I did say that we were approaching this with Jason Peters as the left guard in our estimation, but a lot of you saying Matt Farniok. I think that's the cheating answer. The people saying Matt Farniok are the people like, oh, my last wish, Mr. Genie, I wish for 3 more wishes. That's the people saying Matt Farniok. But it's probably Biadasz as far as consensus starters are concerned. And so let's think about that. The consensus here is that Tyler Biadasz has been the worst or the least awesome starting offensive lineman for the Dallas Cowboys. But we all just went through and gave words, right? We all single-handed, went through one by one, old school, kind of line, and gave answers one by one, how we would describe the play of Tyler Biadasz so far. Think back to the word that you used, whoever you are, loyal listener, viewer. You all said average, solid, serviceable, fine, whatever. That's the worst player on this offensive line. That's pretty cool. Like when you think about it like that, that's pretty cool. And maybe some of this is our own expectation, so it's relative to that. But the worst player on this offensive line in our minds is playing average. If you told me that my worst offensive lineman was average, I would be thrilled. I would take that all day long. The worst starter on my offensive line being average, I'm not trying to be silly, but that's a Super Bowl caliber quality, right? Like that's the mark of a great team. If your worst player along the offensive line is average, I don't care who you are. I don't care what team does win the Super Bowl. They are not going to have 5 elite offensive linemen where each one of them are players who you feel incredible about. We have been so spoiled, obviously, as Dallas Cowboys fans, having 3, sometimes 4 offensive linemen who we do feel are elite, but that's that was rare. That was the exception. And so I do think that this is important perspective on Tyler Biadasz, how he's playing. This was a fun exercise. So shout out, I think it was Scott who suggested this. So thank you very much, Scott. That was a great kind of way to look at that. Garrett, thank you very much. Says, RJ, what do you think is the Cowboys' weakest position? Oh, I love this question. So if you're watching along live, please answer as well. What do you think is the Cowboys' weakest position? If the draft was today, what position do you target? If the draft was today, I am maybe with my first round pick. Depending, I mean, some of this is, I don't want to cheat, right? And be like, well, what happens in free agency? You could argue receiver. There's a lot of people obviously saying receiver. It's hard to argue against receiver right now. Michael Gallup's coming back, and we don't know what Jalen Tolbert will be in the future. But it's hard to not, want to press the panic button at receiver. You need a left guard in the future, right? If Jason Peters is not back, and if Connor McGovern is gone, this is a contract year for Connor McGovern. So, I mean, receiver, left guard, I think you're set on defense. I mean, you're going to need linebacker help unless Damone Clark, steps up in year 2, right? If Devin Harper comes along a little bit more. Again, some of this depends on free agency, what the Cowboys do, but I feel great about this team's edge rushers. I feel great about this team's secondary. It's never a bad idea to have more help at corner, right? We don't know what Kelvin Joseph's future has in store. We don't know how long Anthony Brown's going to be hanging out with the Cowboys. So that's an interesting question. Certainly the people who said quarterback, I get it. I get the elite trolling that you're trying to do. Adrian says, RJ, do you think Kellen Moore got more aggressive in the second half knowing his offense was better? I don't think he got more aggressive. Obviously things, I know somebody said, stop saying, it's a habit. I'm trying very hard. It's the thing. You're going to say, guys, whatever. It's natural conversation, people. There it is again. I don't think he got better. I think the Cowboys, I don't want to say locked in or focused more or tried harder. I think that kind of stuff is silly. I think the Cowboys just trusted themselves. I think the Cowboys finally recognized what was working for them. And we've seen this team obviously, outthink themselves. We've seen this team try to be too cute. And we've seen that a little bit even here tonight. Look, you don't have to pitch reverse it to Tony Pollard to get him the ball. Just hand him the ball. Just have Cooper turn around and hand Tony Pollard the ball. That is fine. I promise you, we'll be cool, Kellen. If you just literally have him turn around and hand him the ball, we will be totally fine with that. So I think the Cowboys finally just felt like, hey, let's just be us, right? Like there's some sports cliches and things like that. Let's just be us. Let's trust us. I want to get to this comment here. Where was it? Again, Garrett, by the way, shout out to Robin Scherbatsky. If you know that episode of How I Met Your Mother, it's a great one. But Garrett says Lamb for sure had the better catch. I think Lamb is an example of what the Cowboys did better offensively as the second half wore on, and that they didn't deviate. We've seen them do that, right? We've seen the Cowboys panic and say, whoa, crap, this wasn't working. We can't do it. We can't do this anymore because it wasn't working before. So I love that the Cowboys said, you know what? We trust CD. We believe in CD. We're not going to shy away from CD. It's 4th and 1. The game is on the line. The pendulum is going to swing from 2-1 to 1-2 on the season. We might be 0-1 in the NFC East with the Eagles at 3-0, 1-0 in division. We don't care. We trust CD Lamb. They believed in themselves. It sounds lame. All right. Ted Lasso, season 3, hurry up. All right. But they believed. By the way, Ted Lasso is now a playable character, a playable team in FIFA. I cannot wait to get it and be a part of Richmond FC. It's going to be so much fun. I cannot wait for career mode on FIFA. But I think that they just trusted themselves and did not deviate from the plan. They did not get too cute. You can argue that some of that is not adjusting. We haven't seen Kellen Moore really adjust that well to any team he's played so far this season, and that is a concern. And that's why, not to spin negatively, there are still problems. There are still concerns. The Cowboys have managed to win these 2 games. They haven't turned the ball over. They haven't committed any huge sins. They haven't done anything really crazy. They have managed to just kind of stay in their lane, right? Just let somebody else make a mistake, and then we'll capitalize on it. We'll be there, and we'll be perfect when the moment demands it. And they were perfect last week, obviously, in the final drive against the Bengals. They were perfect when they had to be, obviously, late in the game against the Giants. They came up when it mattered. They called their shot. They made it. Good for them. Shout out to the Cowboys. Shout out to CD. Shout out to Cooper. Shout out to Kellen. Shout out to Mike. Yeah, shout out to Mike. Shout out to DeMarcus Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong, the whole crew. Excuse me. Let's see here. Mont Bob 100 says Jerry will screw this up and put. Oh man, people, seriously, let's just have a good time. Enough with this Dak trolling stuff. Resin says, honestly, I'm not sold on Rush, but if Dak comes back and plays like he did week 1, he needs to be replaced. Guys, Dak Prescott is the franchise quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Let's just chill out. Tim Watson says, RJ, how about 15 seconds of commentary on your Russell Wilson impersonation in honor of him sucking? First of all, Russ had a tough time on Sunday Night Football. Listeners of the NFC East Mixtape, which is a show I do on the Blog on the Boys podcast network, that show also posts here on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel, will know that I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I do kind of do an amazing Russell Wilson impersonation. And Russell may show up on this week's NFC East Mixtape to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. That's what they call a tease. Brian, thank you for the super chat. Says Rush is a game manager, and that's exactly what you need with this defense to hold on. You won't beat elite offenses. You need Dak back for that. I love this comment. I agree with this. And let me be very clear here that what I am about to say is not a la Steve Young last week. Dak Prescott can learn things from Cooper Rush. That's not the take that I want to craft here. What I want to say is that Kellen Moore and the Dallas Cowboys can learn from this time with Cooper Rush, right? You ever like you know how some people, when they like run steps or whatever, they put like weights on their ankles or whatever to like make it more challenging, and then they take them off and they're like flying, like moving super fast. That's what this has kind of been, right? So, but when you take the ankle weights off, Cowboys, you don't have to like run faster. You know what I mean? You don't have to try harder. I think the Cowboys should learn from this, experience together, and Dak, Dak obviously included, but the Cowboys should learn from this and say, we don't have to force Dak to be some hero. And that isn't to say that Dak isn't capable of that. That isn't to say that Dak is a bad quarterback. That isn't to say that Cooper Rush is better than Dak Prescott. That isn't to say any of those things. But what it is to say is that there are ways to help your quarterback that you should do, things that you should do to help your quarterback. The Cowboys are doing those things with Cooper Rush. They have not done those things at times with Dak Prescott, notably in week 1 against the Buccaneers. Now, I'm not trying to say that Dak Prescott is infallible. Dak Prescott is perfect. That's not my point at all. Dak was awful against the Buccaneers. We have seen Dak play elite football, though. We have not seen Cooper Rush play elite football. Good for him. He's got 3 wins. Seriously, respect. Well done. But we have never seen him play elite football the way that we have seen Dak Prescott play elite football. We know that there is an elite quarterback within Dak Prescott, and it's past time for the Cowboys to just rely on that dude to show up week in and week out. Help your team out. Use every corner, every crevice, every section of your roster to make sure you get the win the way you did against the Cincinnati Bengals, the way you did against the New York Giants. That is the proper, tried and true way to win in this league. And that is the lesson that I hope the Cowboys learned from the Cooper Rush experience, the Cooper Rush experiment, if you will. Before we get out of here, I do want to look. Let's see here. I mentioned it was off the board when we started this post-game show. Cowboys Commanders next week at AT&T Stadium. Still not up, at least with our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. They do sponsor us over the SB Nation NFL show. I'm refreshing my app one more time to check, but I'm pretty certain that, it's not on the board. But like I mentioned, the Cowboys did open originally as 3-point favorites against the Commanders. So forget the line. Last question. Who wins on Sunday? Cowboys or Commanders? Who do you got? Dallas or Washington? No Chase Young for the Commanders. We know that for certain. We know that for sure. Maybe Michael Gallup for the Cowboys. That seems, he almost went, obviously, Monday night, and he didn't. So maybe Michael Gallup's playing in that game. We don't know about Jaron Curse or Connor McGovern. The Cowboys have a lot of injury questions themselves. So I think we're all very, very confident in the Cowboys. In fact, all of your comments are Cowboys. Alan says, depends who's the quarterback. Alan's done an exceptional job trolling. Everybody give Alan attention. Alan needs some attention tonight, everybody, in the comment section. So shout out to you, Alan. Everybody, I love this comment from, I hope I pronounce this correctly, Pazeshk Abzar. I'm sorry if I've mispronounced. I did my very best. Says the Commanders are less better than the Giants. I love that. Everybody's saying Cowboys. Carl is going as far as saying 10 sacks on Sunday, 28-10 Cowboys. It's Clay says Wentz will be in for a world of hurt. Adrian says Washington is not good, to be honest. I agree with this. I know that they were terrible against Philadelphia. And so what I'm about to say sounds silly. Washington has an offense that can score. We saw that they scored late and made the game interesting against Detroit. They obviously had a great performance against Jacksonville in week 1. I still love the Cowboys in this game. I don't know what the line's going to be, but you have to imagine. And if the Cowboys are 3-1, holy crap. I tell you what, I said this as the Cowboys were leading the Cincinnati Bengals. I'll own up to this. Yeah, in the spirit of what has been an episode of Eating L's. I tweeted this as the Cowboys were beating the Bengals. I said that if the Cowboys beat the Bengals, I would eat a whole cheesecake and I would live stream it. And the Cowboys beat the Bengals, and I didn't do that because I forgot about it until it was too late. So that's my bad. But if the Cowboys beat the Commanders, I will eat half of a cheesecake live on the postgame show following the Cowboys win, because I feel so bad about not fulfilling something I said I would do. So if and I say half because I have to talk, right? So I can't eat the whole thing while talking. If the Cowboys beat the Commanders, the Cowboys beat the Commanders, I will eat half of a cheesecake live here on the postgame show next week. If you want to bring your own cheesecake, you want to bring your own snack, we can do it together. But I will eat half of a cheesecake on the postgame show if the Dallas Cowboys beat the Washington Commanders on Sunday. Sneaker Beater says, nah, I probably won't do it. Now I have to do it. All right, Sneaker Beater challenged me. Now I have to do it. So let's do it. Cowboys Commanders cheesecake on the line. Triple C, Cowboys Commanders cheesecake. All right. Seriously, what an awesome day. What an awesome win. Tomorrow's Victory Polo Monday. As mentioned, take a picture of yourself, a selfie, snap a selfie of yourself wearing a polo, a t-shirt, a cap, a hat, whatever it is the Cowboys want. This week is going to be awesome. The weather's getting cooler. Andor's out. I mean, Survivor's back on TV. Like the vibes are good, people. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you get some Righteous Felon craft jerky. Again, use BTB20 to get 20% off your order. It's delicious. I promise you. I give you the RJ Ochoa guarantee. I just made that up. That last part, if it means anything to you. But seriously, do that. I hope you have an incredible week celebrating our Cowboys getting another win. The times are good. They're so much better than we thought that they would be. My name is RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa. Somebody took that username on TikTok, so it's rj.ochoa for me over there. You can send me an email if you like, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com if that is more your thing, or you can leave a comment down below and we'll do our best to get to those as well. Subscribe here, please, to the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. We'll be here live on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time for our Blog on the Boys roundtable, myself and various Blog on the Boys staffers. Like the video, and if you like podcasts, subscribe to the Blog on the Boys podcast network. We have shows that come out each and every single day discussing, recapping, assessing, analyzing the Dallas Cowboys. You can obviously hear me over there a lot throughout the week. We're available wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe, leave a rating, write a review. But other than that, let's just do it. Let's just live. Let's just have a good time. Let's just do this thing. All right, let's light this candle. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Go Cowboys as always. We love you all. We'll see you next time.